Meeting of April 19th, the Southampton Town Trustees will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
to the republic and
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
okay, will Secretary Horowitz please call the roll?
President Eric Schultz.
Present.
Secretary Treasurer Scott M. Horowitz, I am here. Trustee Ed J. Warner Jr.
Present.
Trustee William Pell IV.
Present.
Trustee Ann Welker.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Okay, we'll start out first with the public hearing to authorize the Board of Trustees to propose temporary modification on shellfish, a seasonal razor clam and commercial shellfish harvest restrictions to prevent harm to the shellfish population. I'd like to make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Is there anyone here for or against to comment on this? Going once.
Portal, choose the meeting group from the drop down on the left.
I have a question, please.
Yes.
I cannot, there's feedback going on. Something else is playing. Can anyone else hear that?
No.
Yes.
Oh, now I can.
Okay, if you're not,
I can't, it's everybody, it sounds like everyone's speaking at the same time.
Not me, because I'm muted.
It sounds like a delay.
It's
delay on the
also
pledge.
someone speaking in the background, Charles.
It's a delay on the Pledge of Allegiance.
Board meetings, because he was a part of CTV for many, many years, and he passed away this week.
No, it's something else.
somebody playing in the background.
Yeah, somebody's playing a
First employees. Charlie was a
Eulogy.
no, it sounds like another meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could, Charles, if you could isolate that, find out who.
Can I just get everyone to mute? all
Okay.
at once?
Okay.
Okay, I guess it's not happening.
What, come back on now?
I don't hear it anymore. Does anybody hear it now?
Lisa, do you hear it? That background noise? You do? Lisa, you're muted.
There is another meeting in the background. I can't hear any of you.
Is it on your computer, Lisa?
I
Yeah, it
think
sounds
it's
like
just coming from us.
Because
Yeah.
it only comes
No.
on when you press unmute.
Yeah, it's something on your computer's running, Lisa.
Please be patient. If you find that you are having difficulties accessing the hearings, please visit the town clerk's meeting portal. And
I'll go out and come back in.
Also, there are two public hearings
Okay.
and decisions.
I'm gonna go out and come back in.
Okay.
So
Pretty strange.
Glad when we go back to regular meetings next meeting in the town hall.
The next meeting is in town hall.
Yes,
So I'm
first
glad
month.
glad somebody told me that. So what meeting is that?
We're combining, as I discussed with you. I
Yeah,
guess
but when does that start?
What's the date?
it starts on May, what, 3rd is the first?
And that's in town hall?
Well, yeah, why not? You can't expect us to do remote and the staff to come in at 100%.
Well, you should clear that to make sure, because
We had the room reserved for that anyway. The only thing we did was add the work session to the morning, which we're going to have a
I'm
resolution.
just saying, I'm the guy who records it and nobody's
Yeah.
told me that.
Figures. Okay.
So, all right.
You're always the last to know.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll make sure I get together with you later on. We'll
Thank you.
discuss.
I don't see her yet.
See what's going on.
You guys can continue.
We can't continue, right?
Yeah. I don't see
Oh,
why
wait, there
not.
goes Eric.
He's still loading up.
All right. So when you do your meetings, I guess you're not going to have people coming in.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We've had meetings before. They can come in, stack up like we had before. The room's big
It's
enough.
not as easy as it sounds. You have to make sure that's going to happen. So just make sure that happens.
Okay.
All right, we'll check it out, Charles. Thank you.
And they'll just stand on their head and
Check. See what's going on.
guys can continue, right?
Is anybody from the public that wanted to speak on that public hearing specific to the shellfish? Nobody with their hands raised?
They
Yeah,
just
but
have to raise their hand.
To record everything, so.
Yeah.
Nobody?
No.
Yes, there is someone.
About the shellfish,
Yes.
the shellfish harvest restrictions.
Okay.
They're coming in now.
All right, let's talk to him.
Mark, put your video on, please. Start your video. There we go.
I'm new to this, so
It's okay.
I'll talk when we get to speaking, I guess. Not anything to do with the shellfish.
Oh, well,
Well,
this is specific to the
Yeah, this
shellfish
is
public hearing.
specifically for that. So
Okay.
I'll bring you in later.
Thank you.
Mark, can you mute?
I got it. Done.
Okay.
All right, you can go. Zoom user.
Just come in here and sit at the end of the table. Yeah. You can write it there. All right, so we'll sit in here.
Anybody else have any comments on this public hearing?
Just come on in here and sit at the table.
Bill, Ann? No.
See no other hands.
Okay.
Okay, if it doesn't get resolved in a minute or two, then Lisa's coming in here in the conference room.
Okay. Well, you can continue though.
Not yet. Come on in. You don't need to speak.
We gotta get Lisa's technology straightened out. She seems to have an issue every meeting, it seems. We're gonna have to do an assessment of that.
It sounds like there's an advisory on how to run a Zoom meeting coming through on top of our meeting, right? That's what it sounded like to me.
Okay. I can sit over there or right there. You don't need to.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's go. Then we had the public hearing to authorize the board on the modification of Shellfish clam. I don't hear anybody that came in for or against, so I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in
Can-
favor?
All right.
Aye.
Can we vote on it?
I think it's
Go on.
further down, isn't it?
Is that all in favor? No, that's later.
Okay.
That's the adoption of is later on. Okay, so next time on the agenda is the public hearing for 65 Cliff Drive LLC, 65 Cliff Drive, Noyak, New York, on Doug Canal. So make a motion that we open the public hearing. Do we have all the correct paperwork? We have an affidavit of posting? You
You
have an
do, Trustee President Schultz. You have an affidavit of posting, affidavit of mailing, and certified mail receipts. I am satisfied that they are sufficient, that this board has jurisdiction to open the hearing. You can do so.
Okay, very good. So I make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Ed seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Who wants to speak for the application?
Yeah, I have a bunch. Tiffany Gavin is first.
Well, no, this is.
Well, who's
for-
here representing it?
Oh,
The
sorry.
applicant has to speak first. Do we have the applicant here? Brian Lester, maybe?
Okay, let me just take a look.
Madeline Van John is here for the
Okay, I
applicant.
got it.
Okay, very good.
I am letting her in now.
Come here.
Hi, good afternoon. Madeline Van John here from Brian Lester's office for the applicant.
Okay.
Basically, as we discussed our plans with you last time, our client took them to a marine contractor to get an estimate and to see, basically to figure out if he had any problems with the plans or if everything was good to go. And the marine contractor has reviewed everything and he wants to make a few recommendations that he's still working on. So we may have modifications to the plan. So we would ask that the hearing be left open so that we can present the modifications if we have them. Other than that, I can answer any questions.
Okay, that's good because after this hearing, there might be some modifications that are requested by the board. Okay, so, all right, so,
May 3rd is the next meeting.
yeah, May 3rd is the next meeting,
It'll be a combined meeting.
combined meeting, right? Okay, so any other comments on it? I mean, you presented the plans, they've been made available to the public. Some of the people from the public foiled them. And so I guess it speaks for itself. It's a low sill bulkhead to retain sediments from entering the water body. So do you have any other comments right now? I mean, you can come back in, but do you have any comments right now?
No, I don't have any further comments other than, we just want everyone to be aware that our plans may change. So that's why we're requesting that it be adjourned. But I don't have any comments other than that.
Okay. All right. So do we have anybody else who has comments on the project? Charles, you can let them in.
Okay.
Eric, are we going to put a speaking limit on this, a time limit of 3 minutes?
Yeah, well, let's do 3 minutes and then for each person, and then we'll do let everybody get a chance to talk, and then we'll go around again, okay, if we need to. Hold on a minute.
Hey, Tiffany.
Hey, Eric.
Yep.
Eric?
Can you-
Yes.
can you-
Before we get started, you think James could put the plans up so everyone can take a look at them? Was it available to foil? I'm okay, Sam?
Yeah, sure. That's good.
Yeah, just give me a minute so I can pull them up.
Okay.
Sorry, Tiffany.
No worries.
Am I in the way?
No.
Okay.
Good. Okay, let's go. So who's
Good
up for Tiffany?
If that's okay with you guys. Can you hear me? Oh, there's James
Yeah.
Duria. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, trustees. I would like to let you know that many of my neighbors are joining on today's Zoom, and I will be speaking in effort of your time to limit just one representation, as you have shown us so much time in the year past. Please know that Aram Churchurian of First Coastal is here representing us to speak on the scientific points of what has and continues to occur, and Lee Sneed will address legal concerns. We are happy to learn that a bulkhead is being presented, and we look forward to a complete remediation that needs to include removing what was and continues to deposit into the canal. Many photos are in record and can be referenced. Please understand a bulkhead is only part of the solution of a complete remediation of the issues of the canal, surrounding areas, and residents. The canal and the surrounding areas are desperate for relief from the continuing erosion that falls from 65 Cliff as a result of a 1966 trustee permitted functional bulkhead that was removed without any permits. We continue to trust and respect the trustees' dedication to setting forth remediating this area of the many negative impacts caused by the removal and guiding 65 Cliff to the completed bulkhead installation that is appropriate to the property that slopes towards the water. Land containment alone is not a complete remediation. When the bulkhead was removed on October 24th, it released approximately 3 feet high of land on the water side, 2 feet 2 and 2 feet 5 landward corners by an 80-foot long width of property into the mouth of a tidal navigable canal. That land needs to be removed. Dredging the area to a -1 foot will bring the area back to what it was prior to this landslide, allowing water to once again flow in and out of the canal that has been functioning as a tidal navigable canal for 70 plus years. As of November 2020, the fiber core samples and a hydro map determines approximately 160 cubic yards of 65 Cliff land fell into the waterway, impeding water flow, flushing water into the canal at high tide, bringing in the sediments and choking low tide water flow, not allowing for a complete flushing of the canal. It's not healthy for the canal, not healthy for Paynes Creek, and not healthy for our environment. The landslide needs to be removed in tandem with the bulkhead installation. That's a complete remediation. One without the other is like fixing a broken water pipe and leaving the flood. We have learned a lot of information surrounding this situation. However, the fact is, the action of the bulkhead removal is what caused the reaction of the landslide. The material needs to be removed from the waterway. We request an application for dredging of this material be filed by 65 Cliff LLC with the application for a bulkhead. Quite simple, a mess was made and the owner should be responsible to clean it up. Just like an applicant who pulled a permit would be required to do so if they made a mess. With understanding facts of present, future, and in cooperation, issues seem so easily remedied if we could all work together towards what should be a common goal to bring water flow back to this area. We're begging 65 Cliff to install the bulkhead to contain the land, remove the landslide that is provable to have fallen from the property. We truly do welcome improvements of 65 Cliff. However, home improvement should not be at the detriment of the water, environment, and the surrounding properties. We desire the developers to advertise a beautiful waterfront property on a healthy waterway and allow the residents who have loved and lived here for over 70 plus years to have an environment be healthy and reclaim tidal flow and recreation. We really do appreciate your time and your continued help in trying to create a healthy area for us. Thank you.
Okay, let me just add that it is common in a lot of trustee permits where we have a bulkhead that has leaked sediments beyond its scope that we require reclamation dredging to and use that to backfill the bulkhead. So it's a common practice that we enact.
Great.
Okay. Anybody else?
Agina? Rigdon?
just been ill, so.
Sorry, yeah. I'm mainly an observer, but Tiffany, you did a really good job. This plan that I see before me that James is sharing is completely not effective on the fact that it includes clean fill sand additionally to be trucked into the area will actually compound the situation and make it worse. It'll make it worse. It does not include any reclamation dredging. It doesn't include the waterway dredging at all, which it should. That's part of the problem. Is this has been a comedy of errors since day one. It never ever should have been done. It never ever should have been done this way. It never ever should have been done without appropriate permitting. And one more request, it never ever should be done without a licensed engineer preparing these plans properly. I don't know who East Hampton Land Planning is, and I don't know who the marine contractor is she's referencing, but the any alternatives or any additions to these plans should be prepared by a licensed engineer capable of stormwater prevention, coastal land planning, et cetera, not by East Hampton Land Planning or some marine contractor. And we still don't know who pulled the bulkhead out, and they should also be liable, as well as 65 Cliff. And I think it's important that all agencies in the town figure out a way to work together when we have dual jurisdictional compounding problematic issues. And we found this time and time again. So one agency needs to figure out a way and or advise the consultant or the applicant that additional permitting is necessary when it occurs in a dual jurisdictional agency. We all know it was trustees' jurisdiction. The bulkheads are bulkheads, and it should have been before you. This never ever should have happened. And I think it's not just fixing this problem, it's fixing the problem in the town of Southampton is the problem. And communication.
So Gina, we're working on that right now. I've been in contact with the chairman of the conservation board, and we're working out something.
Absolutely. I think both of you should be in the loop. Both of you should agree mutually on a remedy action. And it should definitely be on 65 Cliff to financially remedy the situation that they have caused, because by acceptance of the permit and the removal of the bulkhead, they have caused a problem. They have increased a beach area that potentially, could be used for private purposes. This legally goes into so many no-go zones, and that it goes beyond just this project, as you know.
So let's hear from some other people. I realize your concerns, and like I said, we're working on it with the conservation board chairman. Unfortunately, that covenants and restrictions have been filed on this property. So we're going to work on amending those so that we can facilitate the bulkhead reconstruction and amendments of those covenants and restrictions.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me speak.
Mr. Schultz, could I just ask one question?
Well, let everybody else talk for a little bit, and then we'll come around again. Okay? Who's next?
Adam, Virginia.
Who?
Adam.
Aram.
Sorry.
Hi, good afternoon, I'm Mr. President, members of the board, Aram Tertunian, First Coastal Corporation, West Hampton Beach, New York, on behalf of the homeowners on Cliff Drive Canal. And want to thank everyone again for their extraordinary amount of time and effort on this project. My firm was engaged to prepare a remediation plan for the homeowners on Cliff Drive Canal. I believe that your board is in possession of that plan. There are two essential elements. Number one is to contain the fill and the upland and to provide a intertidal marsh behind that and using a low sill bulkhead. And the second equally important component is to remove the sand that has discharged into the waters of the United States of America and place them back where they were. And so trucking in fill from an upland source, although may be acceptable when there is no other source of fill, having the exact material that discharged from the upland into the waters to be able to backfill the bulkhead with will both environmentally be better and will save the property owner some money. So I think that that's really, if we can agree upon those two items, I think I would encourage the board to move forward. We have provided documentary evidence, including a hydrographic survey and vibrocores to demonstrate the amount of discharge of material. You can clearly see it in our cross sections and in our vibrocores that we supplied on our plan, how much the overburden is that needs to be scooped back up and put in. And so I won't belabor it anymore, just there's two pieces, they fit together well, and in fact are most beneficial to the applicant 65 drive from strictly from a cost perspective. And happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, so you calculated the amount of fill that was lost for the previously permitted bulkhead at what, 160 cubic yards?
Yes, and I would just mention that, yes, that using the information in our plan at the time the information was collected, that number is correct. But I would recommend that should the board approve this action, that they require the applicant to bring the bottom of the canal at a minimum to negative 1.0 NAVD 88, which based upon our calculations is the pre-existing elevation of that canal. So whether it's 160 or more, because as we know, the erosion is ongoing and our surveys were done months ago, it should be returned to the previous condition prior to removal of the bulkhead.
Okay. There obviously was some deterioration of that bulkhead, but now that we're going to install or require that the applicant install a low sill bulkhead, that's certainly going to require less fill than that was. Did you calculate what was lost if a low sill bulkhead was in place, or the previous bulkhead, which had a higher exposure?
We did our calculations based upon the pre-removal condition, but I think you're going to find that the amount of material is going to be very similar.
Okay.
And obviously, if the applicant produces an up-to-date hydrographic and topographic survey, all keyed to the North Atlantic vertical datum of 1988, this is an easily calculable amount.
Okay. All right, very good. Next person.
That's it, actually. I don't see any other hands. No other. Oh, now we got one.
Charles, I thought there was a list that was provided to the board ahead of this.
Well, we have a list,
There's
but
only one person on the list.
that was from some other. There's people want to talk about public comments on other issues.
Okay.
That list is not just for Cliff Drive. So
I see Madeline with
Gavin, did you want to speak again? Anybody want another shot at speaking?
Hi, yeah, Madeline Van John for the applicant. Can I just address a couple of things that came up?
Sure.
There were a few references to trucking in sand. That's not part of our application, and that never has been. And that I don't imagine that will change. The plan has always been to backfill behind the bulkhead with sand that we would remove from in front of the area. We've never had any plans to truck in sand, and that wouldn't be change. That wouldn't change. And also, for the record, I'd like to say we haven't received, as far as I know, no, the applicants have not either. We haven't received any copies of the plans that were referenced that Mr. Takunian put together. We'd like to see those before we can comment on them and see if we have any thoughts or if we'd like to present our own, data regarding that. We haven't seen that at all. So I'll reach out to the trustee's office and get copies of that. But I just want to say for the record that we haven't seen any of that.
Yep, that's good. Okay. Did Ms. Gavin want to speak again?
If possible, I would just,
Sure.
thank you, sir. In the effort of timing, this has been going on since 2019, and I do believe we're all looking for the common goal of bringing the water back. And adjourning this, Ms. Finjon, and bringing more time in between remediation just seems, it just seems like we're spending a lot of time on something that's so easily remediated. It's probably one day of dredging and a week's worth of an installation to do a bulkhead and containing the land in some sort of stepped property so it no longer slopes towards the property. Is there anything we could do to speed this up? I don't, sir?
Well, let me just add this, is it's on a situation that's as controversial as this, we usually do extend the public hearing process at least 2 meetings, because there's going to be a back and forth. But it seems to be that everybody's kind of on the same page with this about the reclamation dredging. The trustees usually require reclamation dredging anyway. The applicant has said that they want to do this. So you have to afford them the opportunity to look at Mr. Tertullian's plan, and then we'll adjourn this meeting till the next meeting. And then, you know, I think it's pretty simple solution, like you said, and we'll get this thing moving along.
I think that's great. And we're very grateful to the trustees, and Ms. Finjon, thank you for speaking on your client's behalf. It seems like we're all coming together towards the common goal, and whatever we could do to help make this go quicker, we would be more than happy to assist. Thank you again for your continued effort. Have a good day.
Anyone else wish to comment on this?
Lee Sneed.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Members of the board, thanks for allowing me to appear. I just want to put on record that I think everybody is working toward a common goal. And just wanted to say that we reached out to Mr. Lester's firm early on in the process, and I will be happy to speak with Ms. Finjon about providing them a copy of our Mr. Tertullian's proposal, so that hopefully we can get to the same point. Beyond that, I don't think there's anything else I need to say.
Okay. Sounds good.
Eric,
Anyone?
I do have one comment.
Go ahead,
The
Ed.
proposal as it is submitted has, you know, backfill with clean sand, no reclamation dredging. They're asking for I believe, a return on the south side. So this, what we're looking at now and starting this public hearing on, is different than what it's going to come out to be. So should we have a revised set of plans as far as what we're going to be reviewing for this public hearing? Because it sounds like there's quite a few, or at least 3 issues that need to be resolved here.
You could take that down actually, because it's going to have to be changed. I agree with Ed.
Me too.
I mean, are we going to go through with this public hearing on that proposal, or are we going to have another one submitted and have another? I mean, I don't know how this works.
That's a good point. I think that, you know, Mr. John should have some sort of revised plan to present the next time around in lieu of what the statements were made today by the public, and what the board has basically said, that usually we require reclamation dredging.
Yep.
So there's a discrepancy on that. We had to ask them to submit the plan so we could have a starting point.
Well, are we going to have another public hearing for a changed set of plans, or are we going to have this work through this and like have this amended, and then at the end of our first public hearing, adopt or work on those plans that are finally submitted?
That's a Sean Cambridge question.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend they submit new plans and the board adjourn this. It's been noticed for substantially the same purpose here. It's a public hearing noticed for 65 Cliff Drive and a remediation application. I think it's okay for the applicant to submit some modifications. It is common practice in these types of applications. I recommend the board adjourn this public hearing today and reopen on the next regular meeting with the new plans in front of the board.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you, Sean.
You're welcome.
So with that, I'll make the motion that we adjourn this public hearing to May 3rd, 2021, which is the next regularly scheduled meeting of the town trustees. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Ed seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so carried. Okay,
Thank
great. We'll be in discussion. We'll have James forward the plans to everyone and to the applicant. And we'll expect some modifications to that so we can discuss and finalize this.
Great, thank you.
Good. Okay.
Public portion?
So the other part of public portion, we have some other people that want to speak on some other issues. Charles, you have it separated with
I see no
topic.
other hands. If you want to speak, you must speak. Oh, okay. Well, now I have some hands.
We had some people that wanted to speak on Far Pond issue.
Okay, Andrew and Kevin McAllister. I'm just going to let them in.
Okay. Okay, you pick who wants to go first.
Okay, there's a Mark.
Yes,
Put your video on, Mark.
yes.
Spell your
Okay.
name, sir.
Can you spell your name, please?
Mark Haves, Haves.
H-A-B?
Bes.
B?
Right, ES.
H-A-B?
ES.
Yes,
Yes.
okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
I live 16 Phillips Lane in Southampton, and I'm been a resident there for about 8 years, and the pond has been a true treasure, and I'm able to take my kayaks and boats in and out of the pond, and all of a sudden, because of the bulkhead that revet, is it called?
Revetment.
Revetment. It seems like the channel has been dramatically shrunk.
Right.
And so I'm wondering if the trustees possibly can go back and see what can be done besides dredging to make sure that the pond is flushing properly and the channel is wide enough to get little boats in and out.
Ed, do you want to address that since you've been in communication with the county?
Yes, I have talked to the Suffolk County Dredging and Waterways. As of right now, they're looking to work on amending a permit to do dredging at the pond. They're looking to possibly come in on the west side with an excavator and put the material between the west side of Far Pond Channel and Sondrenham on the town property. But that's amending a permit that we don't even have yet. So it's a very difficult lift. And the majority of the material that has been deposited in that channel on the west side has come from Atterbury Road and points west on the beach. That's why it has such a big high berm, because after Sandy, a lot of that material washed off the bluffs and cliffs there, and it has now entered into the system and worked its way easterly towards Far Pond. The east side of the channel has actually had substantial erosion, and that's what has caused the need for the revetment to be extended at Mr. Malcolmson's property, and also the rocks to be placed along the front of Far Pond Road. The material that was placed there by the highway department has all ended up on the east side of the channel in the pond, which we had scraped last year and put back on the beach. And we're looking to do a similar project this coming season if we can, find time to do it with the tides and everything. So the only way to keep that pond open and flushing is to drain it right now. And I mean, it's to dredge it. And that's going to be, right now, it seems to be a little complicated issue with the DEC, Army Corps, Fish and Wildlife, and getting a machine down there and getting a permit amended. as far as I know as of today.
Well, I go back to my original question, and it was, the rocks were there for many years, but the extension of those revettes, whatever it is, has dramatically changed the entrance to the pond. So I'm wondering if, whoever did the studies might have possibly made an error, and I'm wondering if those rocks can be removed.
Well, those rocks have only been down there for like a month.
Yeah.
And it's dramatically changed the entrance within the last 3 months. It's crazy. I mean, I have pictures, but look, I go back to my original question. Could have this been a mistake?
No, I don't believe that the rocks are causing that to fill up. I mean, we had a world-renowned coastal geologist that is in our employ there that made the suggestion. Something had to be done. The end of the road keeps on deteriorating. The highway department has to keep on placing sand down there, and it gets washed towards the cut. The town-owned land that was bought with CPF money is decreased drastically. So to do nothing down there would cause even more of a problem. And the reason why we put the smaller rocks down there was so that we actually could move them around if, as the inlet changes, that we can move them around as a wave break, stop as much erosion.
Well, since I go there every week, I have seen it dramatically change in the last 8 weeks, and and it's really troubling. That the flushing is so important. I'm able to get crabs out of that pond, and if the flushing doesn't occur, I think
Well, yeah, we're going to have a problem. Let me just add that the Suffolk County does have a permit to dredge that opening. It was scheduled to be done, but they couldn't perform it with their hydraulic dredge. So they applied to the DEC to just add 2 words to put in, or to use a land-based excavator to dredge the canal. And the DEC is sitting on that. All they have to do is add 2 words to that permit. That's it. So we're waiting on that. And the May dredging season, there's a 2-week season, usually from May 15th to June 1st, where we can do dredging. And, we're pressing the DEC to allow the county, so the county doesn't get in trouble, to just add 2 words to that permit. It's
so you're on it. You're on it. I hear.
Oh, yes, we are. We are.
Thank you.
But one issue, the big issue I think we're all dealing with is sea level rising and global warming. Being a bayman for 50 plus years on this bay, I've seen the waters get higher and higher, and the erosion that's been caused all around the whole entire bay. This happens to be an inlet where there's tidal flow back and forth, and it was a man-made created inlet. So what we're trying to do is work with Mother Nature and try to work with these revetments, or whatever you want to call them, rock placements, to mitigate the erosion and to protect property. That's the whole goal behind these projects.
Do you want to add the dredging that took place at the mouth of the bay that took all the sand out of there, that increased the amount of water coming in?
Well, the county did a very large dredging a year or so ago.
Three years ago.
And it took, there was another dredging that took all the sandbar that was on the east cut, literally took it all out and put it on the beach. The prior dredging before that was the east channel that went to the reservation. So there have been multiple dredging projects that have lessened the height of the sandbar that's inside the inlet, and that directly affects the wave energy from the ocean that comes all the way across Shinnecock Bay on a storm. So even on a moderate storm, you do get waves that break along Shinnecock Hills and does cause erosion.
Okay, well, as long as you guys are aware of it, I beg you to make sure that our pond has a good day. I know from my little dock that the amount, it's about a 5 or 6 inch reduction in the high tide, and certainly the low tides were unbelievable this past winter.
Definitely. And the mouth of the cut has migrated to the east over the course of the years, and we want to try to start moving that back towards the west again as traditional.
Whatever you guys can do. I mean,
The low tides were bad throughout the entire bay system this winter. Amazing low tides we had all winter.
And we, during the public hearing process for this whole, project, we did have a couple times, we put it up on the screen for people to understand from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Our environmental analyst has basically logged, GPS pictures along this whole area, and we could see how the inlet has grown, moved, and sandbars have, reconfigured themselves, and erosion has been caused the whole entire shoreline. So we did do our homework and look at those videos to compile a pictorial of from the 30s, 40s, 50s up until 2010, 2020. So, we did do a lot of research, and we did ask a lot of questions.
So I'll ask the question one more time, though. If we can't get the dredging done, and the pond continues to have a small channel, is there a way to have that homeowner remove those rocks?
The rocks are going to lessen the amount of erosion that takes place that's filling in the pond. You've seen a tremendous amount of property being lost on the piece that's directly adjacent to the road. And the highway superintendent has been dumping tons of sand down at the end of the road. And that's been, as the waves hit that, then it's been washing that peninsula out into the cut. So the way to stop the erosion at the end of the road is to create sort of a wave break to stop that movement of sand towards the west. That's what we're trying to achieve.
Well, okay. Well, again, I'm not. I don't want to say that I'm just a homeowner, and I know how important that pond is to the community.
Yes, okay. I think it's important to everybody. And one thing that's the highway superintendent did testify that he's lost over 65 feet of his road. So that road end was at least 65 feet longer back in 1970, 76, 77. And I can attest to that because I hunted that area back when I was in high school.
Yep.
Okay.
We're working on top of it.
Thank you.
Got some other people here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andrew's next.
Got it. Hi, my name's Andrew Tarica, Tarica. I have and continue to live at Far Pond for the last 26 years. Not to be redundant with what Mark said, but I was under the understanding that when the revetment permit was issued, it was conditioned on the channel being dredged prior to the revetment being put in. That hasn't happened. I've spoke to so many people over the years, Ed and all the legislators and everyone involved in this. Eric, we spoke the other day. It seems like everybody's on the same page and everybody is very supportive. We do have people that say that, experts that we retain that said that the revetment should never have been put in, that it has caused a lot of this deterioration. So I don't necessarily agree with the comment that was just made. But what I would love to see happen as a homeowner, I would love all the interested parties. I spoke to Andrew Walker the other day. We've spoken to the superintendent, spoke to our councilman, we spoke to the town legislator. I spoke to most of the people on this Zoom call. If everybody would just get on one Zoom call, we live in a world where everybody could get together and once and for all discuss this, because it seems like everyone's pointing the finger at other people. Andrew Walker said there's a permit in place that was issued in 2019. That's a 20-year permit that's there till 2029.
Yeah, but he's not.
Yeah, so if everybody's not telling, right, everybody's got some forms of maybe they're lying or maybe they're bending the truth. And I know everyone's passionate about it. As homeowners, we live on this pond. You know, I watched the end of this road deteriorate for the last 26 years. There used to be a beautiful public beach that people from all over the community came and, came with their kids, came with their grandkids. There's no more beach anymore. The erosion now has taken out all the trees. So this rock revetment is not helping the cause. It might, people might think it's helping the cause, but if you live there and you go there and you see what it's doing, as Eric said, that the channel used to be way west. It was 150 feet west of where it is now. So it clearly needs to be moved back west, but it's almost completely closed now. And we as homeowners are running the risk of having waterfront homes that are closed pondfront homes. And I know we've been promised by everyone and many people on this call that this will happen, but it didn't happen this season. And I know this is an extraordinary year with COVID, the pandemic, with resources, but realistically, we're being told this dredging is not going to take place till the October, November, December dredging season because we missed the window, and that is a disaster. And I don't want to say everything that Mark said because we share similar concerns as homeowners, but we have started a homeowners association. We do have a voice. We are very concerned. We've retained counsel. There's people suggesting that this is privatization of public land. That was a public beach. It's no longer a public beach. It doesn't exist. So I know that's a mouthful, but we're just concerned homeowners that want to protect our beautiful pond, and we're concerned.
Well, we're concerned too because that pond is owned by all the freeholders in the town. And we certainly don't want to see something strangulated in an ecological disaster. But I really have to take the DEC path, okay? Andrew Walker will tell you anything that you want to hear. We've been on the phone with him. Mr. Schwartz has been on the phone with him. He's all supportive. All they have to do is change the permit to allow for an excavator to go in there, get it done. We're ready to go. The county's ready to go. The DEC is the one who's holding this up. They're giving everybody lip service just to placate them so they go away. We're ready to go. As a matter of fact, the only people that actually did something was the trustees. If you recall last spring, that we went in there with a machine and a contractor to pull all that sand back and reestablish that beach so people could have a beach. The DEC didn't go down there and do anything. And on top of that, they wouldn't allow any of the dredged material to be placed on that beach. That was one of their conditions, and they won't tell you that either. So the county wants to have that area as a spoil site. The DEC has refused to do anything. When I spoke to Andrew Walker last time, I said, all we need to do is change that and just add that to the area that we can spoil. And he said, that sounds great. That'll take probably about 5 or 6 months. So that's just change a sentence. They're that busy up there that they can't. They're creating disasters throughout the town and the state. And I think that the governor's office has to be involved.
Yeah, that's why I was suggesting maybe if we can get everybody on a call, because, like you said, when I talked to Andrew Walker, he told me exactly what I wanted to hear. And then he's, telling you guys different story. If we can get, Alex Greger and the Suffolk County Public Works Department and the DEC and the Army Corps and the trustees, if everyone could get on one call, then it should be simple to change 2 words in a permit.
They've been told over and over and over again, if they're truly concerned about the environment, they'll just change the 2 words. So they have to agonize over every decision. And as soon as you get a call like that together, it'll complicate matters even more. Even if you can get the DEC to go on a call, okay? They're paralyzed down there to make it.
Got it. But back to one of the questions that I had asked. The revetment permit that was issued, I believe, in November, the last one.
Right.
Was it conditioned on the channel being dredged prior? Was that the language in the permit? I haven't seen the permit, but I've heard that.
Not exactly sure, but it was predicated on, we were assured by the DEC that they were going to change that and allow that spoil to be placed there, and that hasn't come to fruition. Unfortunately, the county got behind with their hydraulic dredge and they couldn't do it. So now they just want to change this so they can bring a land-based machine, which will do a very adequate job. They can do it from each side. But again, the DEC won't issue a permit. But let me remind you of this too, is that rock wave break that was put down there was approved by the DEC. It's not just the trustees, they got a DEC permit for that also. So if you have people that are saying that it caused the problem, there goes the DEC again. They're part of the blame too. And they also were part of the original person who built the larger boulder rocks there to armor that shoreline also has a DEC permit. So when I said that, so when the DEC was sitting there and saying, oh, we can do it in 5 months, I said, well, why don't you bring DEC bulldozer down and help out, since your permit caused this problem too? And dead silence. So I think a couple of letters from homeowners in the area to the governor's office or the governor's representative would do a lot better than writing a letter to the DEC, because it's just going to be thrown in the trash.
Got a bunch of other people too.
Ralph, are you there?
Yes. Hello?
You want to add anything?
Well, I think you covered all of the points, and especially the most important ones, that the return of the rock revetment, the large boulder revetment, up into Far Pond Road, as well as the addition of the loose materials, has certainly caused the loss of all beachfront throughout that whole span leading up to the blocking of Far Pond. I mean, I have a boat with 6 inches of draft, and I can barely get out. And yes, we've had very, very low tides exposing the muck. But it seemed, I should say, first of all, that I have 3 properties on Far Pond Road. I've been there 30 years, raised my family there. We still live on those 3 properties. And the destruction is, of course, dismaying for one of the most charming little spots around. But I think the real concern is, how does the support for a single homeowner have turned 30 of us to forming. The last thing we wanted is a homeowners association to hire legal counsel. We're feeling rather either powerless or totally uninformed for the rationales that I've just heard today about how to deal with this issue. It also seems that as long as the rocks remain, that the dredging schedule can't be 4 to 5 years. They're going to be they have to be far sooner than that, maybe 1 every 2 years, given the amount of sand that's coming, we think, from the east side, not the west side, that it's scouring around through the east. No, you're saying.
No, it's coming from both sides. It's coming from the west side. It came from Sandringham and Atterbury Road. There was a few properties that were washed out during Sandy, and all that material has worked its way down the beach over since Sandy. That peninsula that is on the west side, 25 years ago, there was no peninsula there.
Right.
There are thousands of cubic yards of sand on the west side right now that have accumulated. There's no way it got across that channel and came from the east side.
Well, I think it's coming from both sides, don't you think, Ed? Because the sand that was placed in the road is direction too.
But something has changed in Shinnecock Bay in the last 5 or 6 years, because all the sand that used to go towards Middle Pond to the west no longer goes to the west. It all ends up in Middle Pond Channel, which is the same as Far Pond Channel. Both of the channels are in bad need, terrible need of dredging, which we've apprised the county of. We sent Bay Constable surveys, depth soundings to them. I've been working on this since they did the last dredging. But unfortunately, with the dredging that was supposed to happen this fall, didn't happen. They ended up going over in South Hold and other points out east. They only have 1 dredging crew, one dredge, so they can't be in two places at one time. And unfortunately, you throw COVID on top of that, where some of the workers were sick. They didn't have enough time to do the dredging. And I've worked very diligently to get, well, we have, the trustees have, to get these places dredged and maintain them. I've worked with, our environmental analyst, talked Suffolk County, asking him about using an excavator, looking and see if there's any bird issues on the west side of Far Pond, which there aren't. So it would be a pretty easy permit to amend as far as I'm concerned, but you get other agencies involved and it becomes just a log jam and it's very frustrating.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
And also, sorry, if I could just say one thing. My name is Darren Baggart. I also live on Far Pond Road, have two properties.
Could you spell that for the secretary for the records?
Sorry, Darren Baggart, Baggert.
Okay.
And I listen, I really appreciate all of your help because listen, I've lived here now for about 15 years. And since the road has deteriorated, we all know, you guys have been very proactive, putting the sand there, trying to see if the beach would build back, temporarily. But I was at an in-person public hearing there in Town Hall. I believe it was back in October. And from all the experts and all the discussions, the permit was not approved at that point. And then suddenly I came down to the property and I saw the rocks being built because I thought this was still up for analysis and discussion. And Ed and Marty Shea were very actively, talking it through. And I was just frankly surprised that permit, it seems like it's happened out of nowhere to add that rock revetment after we heard experts tell us that it may not be the best course of action. I don't live on Far Pond Road, so I'm not as concerned as just the navigation of that pond, which is important. But to me, on the other side of Far Pond, is a public access beach that no one has access to. And it looked like from the permit that I saw that they used, or they were given town land to build part of that revetment, from my understanding. But doesn't there need to be some kind of a covenant that the public still has access to the other beach? Because at the moment, I just don't see how that can happen for those of us that, again, everyone knows how dire it is down there. It just seems like the permit happened very quickly after a pretty, I thought, aggressive, public uproar of analysts talking in person there at Town Hall.
Well, as far as public access, any structure that's placed and breaks the plane of the water, basically when the tide hits it, you have a 5-foot passing way upland of that structure, whether it's a bulkhead, a rock revetment, or coir logs or anything like that. So on that, you can go down to Far Pond and legally you would be allowed to walk through Mr. Malkinson's on the edge of his property within 5 feet of the rock revetment, around that rock revetment, and traverse to the east. It's called a public passing way, and we have it.
Understood, but even though, sorry, Ed, just from my understanding, so even though the town was the land was given, gifted, used, there's not a path that needs to be accessible on that property, even though it's town land. You have to go somehow around the rocks in low tide to somehow walk around to what now is the only beach, right? Until we figure out what's going to happen because the roads disappeared. There's no beach there anymore, right? No matter everyone's actions has been positive, but we don't even have access to the other side. And I guess that was my concern after the rock event was put up.
Well, there are several properties, or more than several, along Shinnecock Hills where literally the whole entire bulkhead structure or rock revetment structure is on our Shinnecock Beach Road. And each one of those properties have sand maintenance covenants on them so that the beach in front of them will never wash away. And also they have the ability for you to pass and repass above those structures. I mean, some of them are overgrown with trees, but it would be no different in Mr. Malcolmson's property, the way you could walk along the top of his rock revetment and head east.
And just so I understand, sorry, because I'm not an environmentalist, is he not allowed to plant on that land that he was given so that someone can have a right of way on that property, as opposed to sort of wading through rocks to get around to the only beach?
Listen, let's talk about, you're talking about the new section with the smaller rocks, right?
I'm talking about the larger rocks. So the small rocks are on the right side of the road, and I'm talking about the larger rocks to be able to walk to what used to be also part of that public beach on the other side, which I believe is still town property, right?
What our intent was with that particular area there is with Mr. Walker was supposed to amend the permit to allow for placement of spoils there when the channel was dug. The purpose was to add in front of Mr. Malcolmson's property so we could restore that beach. So having no amendment to the permit prevents us from putting sand there on top of that, which we are ready, willing, and able at any time to do that. But him saying, the DEC saying you have a permit, yeah, you have a permit, it's unworkable. It's not changed with the times, and 5-6 months we'll get to it. I mean, we have a Mecox cut that we've been managing for 375 years, and they've been delaying it for 2 years to try to get, we're working without a permit now. Everything's emergency permits and everything. They are absolutely paralyzed down there, and they're creating environmental nightmares all over the town, while the governor has a commission to put a pipeline, $25 million pipeline through the barrier beach down in Quogue to preserve Shinnecock Bay. But all the little things are all adding up around here, and it's causing a nightmare. So
understood. No, I was just frankly concerned that the permit was even approved, just from everything that I heard in person with everyone there, that this was not going to be approved, and I was surprised it was. And I admit I have not been able to go back and understand what the trustees or the town's advisors said this was a positive thing to build back the rock revetment, when everything I heard, I didn't hear anything positive regarding erosion and such.
Well, we relied on an internationally renowned coastal geologist. None of the people that are employed by a town are coastal geologists. We're relying on a person who has Fulbright scholarships to address the erosion in the nation of Bulgaria, who has just been appointed to a Blue Ribbon Commission in the state of Virginia to address sea level rise, teaches at Duke University, internationally known, and his suggestion was to put these smaller rocks in as a wave break. And the notion is to have the smaller rocks so that if we had to adjust it, we could move them around easy. It's going to.
I'm sorry. And what was his name? I'm sorry, Mr. Schultz. I just didn't.
Robert Young. Dr. Robert Young.
Perfect. And I'm assuming I can look back, and then I'll finish talking. I appreciate it. I can look back in some of the old notes and actually read that recommendation. That'd be wonderful. Just because I apologize, I didn't know it even had been approved, and suddenly I saw the building happening.
Well, this has been going on for how many times did we adjourn?
3 years, about 3 years, the permitting process.
We had.
I know you guys have been very appreciative. Listen, everyone knows that road's disappearing, and the fact that you guys have been putting sand down there has been, incredibly costly, but also at least appreciative, because at least you're trying to build something back there. So, I'm not saying anything negative there. I was just surprised the permit got approved. That's all.
Okay. Well, the trustees and the highway department are the only people who actually have been doing something. Everybody's having studies and everything, but we're the ones that are actually doing it, and we're going to continue to do it until we get that pond dredged. We get that water flow in there and get it healthy again. But
okay, so we'll wait and see what happens. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I ask you what would be appreciated if you write a letter to the governor instead of the DEC, explaining the situation. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Kevin.
Thank you, Charles. I assume everyone can hear me. Good afternoon.
Yes.
My name's Kevin McAllister. I'm founder of Defend H2O. Of course, I've been before the board many times, and I'd like to talk to you about a few items within your purview. As a bit of a preamble, obviously, my work in water quality protection. Earlier in my career, 12 plus years down in South Florida, my graduate work is in coastal processes, coastal zone management, and I've worked on shoreline protection for more than a decade in all components. In the course of my work, I've become an expert in aerial photo interpretation. That was part of certainly my prior roles, as well as even coursework. So I look at aerials to inform and guide my, I'll say, policy recommendations. I listened in the other day to the Army Corps presenting before the legislature, the Public Works Committee, and I want to raise some real issues. Relative to shoreline dynamics, of course, Ed talked about storm energy, sea level rise, the condition of the beach, and sand supply. And specifically the sand supply and the bypassing for Shinnecock Inlet. Initially, I was elated that they were finally talking about this. And I will perhaps remind the board, I know Eric and Ed perhaps have this memory, but roughly 15 years ago, the Department of State was poised to invest and support a sand bypassing system. They wanted Suffolk County to overtake that system and maintain it over time. Because of opposition, namely from the Southampton side, certainly I'm not purview to it, but the notion was withdrawn. And here we are 15 years later talking about it. Again, I initially thought a real positive step by the FIM plan. However, the devil's in the details. In getting into the document and listening to the representation by the project manager, I have some real issues. Obviously, the commercial docks are highly vulnerable within that bowl and downdrift location. The bypassing that the Corps talks about is principally a dredging of the navigational channel, which is insufficient volume and perhaps even beach quality rather, to support keeping that bowl full. The offshore ebb tidal dredging becomes periodic as part of, I'll say, the second iteration of FIMP, which requires cost sharing by local government. So it's a real issue, bringing closer home to the Middle Pond. I've looked at the aerials on that location, and again, we need to manage our sand better to ensure then we don't be in situations where we are armoring shorelines, losing public access, and impacting habitat. In the Middle Pond scenario, looking at the barrier beach there, and Ed, to your point on the aerial photos, what I gathered somewhere post 1984 and 2001, where the home appeared with the structure, that inlet, it looks like the near shore was dredged for navigational purposes, now affecting the sand flow. And shortly thereafter, then we ended up with the problem and the scouring effect of that structure. I do believe the add-on with the rock, and I have seen it, just continues to tail that revetment that is quite prominent. It will continue to cause end scour and continue to shift erosion to the west on the town's public portion, apparently. This all comes back to sand management, and I think we've got to start talking and thinking outside of the box. When there is beach compatible sediments that are available in these spits and these bars, and they will forego structures coming onto the shorelines, we've got to find a way to move that sand. And I'm sorry, DEC has not really been cooperative, and a bit of a quagmire between the county, the state, and the trustees to try to better manage this particular reach of shoreline. But I can assure you it's not the first, it's not alone. With all of these inlets and shorelines, to the extent we do a better job and keep the structures out, that's what we have to strive, because we will in fact lose public access because the sand will run out. And there's no way we're going to keep pace with sea level rise, particularly when we have deficiencies in sand management, as I described with Shinnecock Inlet. So thank you for your consideration of these comments. And, I hope I just try to raise the conversation. So over time, we figure this out, because the path we're going down right now, we are encapsulating these bays with structures in all forms. They will become very prominent features. We will lose public shorelines. We will lose habitat. So sand management is the one thing that we can control and have some influence over. If it's not directly in your purview, I ask you to talk to the other agencies and really press this issue, because this is as good as it gets. Thank you.
No, agreed. And that's why we were pressing the DEC to add that area right at the end of the road as a spoil site, and they refused to do it. We're ready. We've applied. The county has applied. We've been pressing them all along. We've been getting lip service from the DEC, and those rocks probably wouldn't be necessary to reserve the CPF land and the town road if we were able to build the sill up of that beach. The waves would be breaking much further out, but we're paralyzed with the county will not operate without a permit. The only other option is for the trustees to go rogue and do it ourselves. That's it. I mean, it's the governor has to be notified that his agency is totally dysfunctional. That's the cause of the problem. Everybody's ready to go. Mr. Malcolmson really didn't want to spend the money putting these rocks in. He didn't do it because, he did it because he applied for it because of the inevitable, Kevin, as you said, the inevitable scour out, down drift of any hardened structure that you put in. But if there was a beach like there used to be, maybe 30 or 40 foot wide at even at low tide, we wouldn't even be discussing this right now. But it's just an absolute, I hate to keep on harping on it, but someone's got to get to the governor and say, hey, you better tell your agency to get on board with the 21st century, I should say. So,
Chuck is next. Chuck Schwartz.
Hey, hi, everybody. Charles Schwartz, 66 Far Pond Road, Southampton. I live 2 houses away from the end of the road on Far Pond Road. I'm not very pleased by what was done down there, guys. I really and I got to tell you honestly, I think that that whole permit got pushed through. The whole conversation. I listened to the November, whatever it was, November 23rd, whatever the date was. I listened to that meeting multiple times. There was supposed to be covenants written. There was going to be a sand management plan. There was going to be.
There is.
Excuse me, Eric. I'm talking number one, and number two, there is no plan. It doesn't exist. Is there covenants that have been sent and have been put into? Malcolmson doesn't know about them. He says he's done with the project. So, and you sat there at that meeting saying maybe we shouldn't do it. And it was pushed through because of supposedly there was going to be a dredge done. A week later, you found out there was no dredge. Come on. Personally, I believe that the plan to have a comprehensive evaluation done and have real meetings done about this, bringing in stakeholders, bringing in the community, bringing in people like Kevin and other experts is the correct way to go. I really believe that. And you can say, well, we should write the governor, we should do this, we should do that. I could call Carrie Gallagher and I could have the DEC attend that meeting. They'll attend that meeting. Things could get done properly. Right now, it's all, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to piss off Marty, we're going to cause this problem. It's just not, it's not working, guys. Go look at the end of that road. Go look at the trees that are falling into the bay at this point. It's not going to get better. That water is just going to come pouring in and just keep beating up that whole shoreline. So if there are covenants, I'd like to see them. Also, Ed, we've asked you multiple times to show us how we're supposed to be able to walk across Malcolmson's lawn, his property, without getting shot by him, so that if the public is allowed to do that. You're talking about walking across his deck to get to the other side to be able to go down the beach. Is there going to be a sign put up so that people in the community who come and spend time know to be able to do that? Because that's, that's great. And how are they going to get off of there? If they're going to get off, the rocks go all the way to the end of his property. So now they're going to walk on somebody else's property too to get off. I mean, it doesn't really, it's nice to say that we're gonna do this. But the last I heard, you were waiting till you had to look at like a 1980 survey or something, or the original plan. So if we're gonna do things, let's really do them and do them correctly. This wasn't done correctly. This was pushed through. It's a mess down there. Go take a look. I don't know have all the trustees gone? Scott, have you seen it? Have you gone down there lately? Have you seen the job that was done?
I was there the end of last
It's a
year.
mess. There's no beach. Doesn't exist. Supposedly there's going to be sand management on your part. Now we're hearing, well, maybe we can do it, maybe we can't, maybe we have the budget, maybe we don't. Which one is it? It's just
Chuck, if you watch the meet, we passed a resolution to hire a contractor to do the same project that we did last spring down there.
Okay. So when is that getting done, Ed?
Once we get some calm weather here and low tides and the ability for the contractor to work down there, because prior to this project being done, the whole entire beach was eroded. So the only thing that's been changed is the rock revetment has been placed there. There has been sand put on top of the rocks. There has been planting done. And without that road end in 10 years would be up to your driveway. Do you realize that? And what would you do then? How would you drive home and get to your yard? That's what's going to happen eventually. You got sea level rising, and it's inevitable that things are going to get eroded. We tried to do a project. We're not finished with the project yet. So you guys are upset because it's not completely completed. And I explained to you and to the people in the community that it'll probably be a few months before we get everything squared away down there. And at that point, then we can look at it and reevaluate it. I mean, it isn't finished yet.
So,
and as far as the dredging goes, I had anticipated the county doing the dredging last fall. We were told it was on the schedule, but unfortunately there was a little thing called COVID, and unfortunately they got sidelined with some of their help, and the dredge ended up going to the other part of Peconic Bay on the North Shore, not doing this project. I worked diligently trying to get with our board and the county to get a hydraulic, an excavator down here to do a project on the other side and move the channel to the other side. And one thing that the community should really understand, before maybe the early 80s or late 70s, that channel was not dredged. It looked just like it did now. When I used to duck hunt down there in the 70s, that water was only maybe knee deep at high tide. So what it's going back to is what it was previously like. I mean, the county has done dredging down there pretty much every year for 40 years plus. But, unfortunately, they couldn't get it accomplished the way everybody wanted to this past winter. And we did work very hard to get that dredging project done. Unfortunately, like I said, we have had other issues that come about.
And I do recall we went down there, a group of us went. We went with Dr. Young as well, the expert. We also had, I believe, a representative there from Suffolk County Legislator's office. There was a lot of people that were down there that took a look and tried to figure out. And at the end, we took a lot of recommendations from what the DEC had already permitted and what the expert was advising to try and get ahead of it.
I'm talking about since that job was done. Have you been back there to look at it, Scott?
No, I have not been back.
Okay.
I ended up getting COVID.
So
I haven't been back there.
There are covenants for malcolm.
I think that we're working on, just if I may finish, I believe that, aren't we still working on the covenants? Isn't there a back and forth going on with the office?
Yes, it's just, I have them right here. I just had James print them up. And there's been just some, typographical things as far as, but not the general overall issue. And it basically says the trustees have issued a permit to the property owner, subject to terms and conditions set forth in the permitter's agreement. Resolutions, as long as any of the improvements remain in place and upon receiving written notice from trustees, the property owner shall at its own cost and expense provide sand replenishment in order to maintain the width of the beach area along the and beside the improvements. Parties acknowledge that the rock wall permitted by the trustees and constructed by the property owner only fronts a portion of Far Pond Road, and it doesn't in any way abrogate the responsibility of the highway department to protect the end of the road. in part by replenishing sand or taking further action at the road end as needed. And that means that they have to put a bulkhead at some point to protect everybody else's property. It'll be achieved with the participation and cooperation of the Highway Department, and such cooperation is of the essence to the described property owner's commitments described. Such sand replenishment shall be required whenever the width of the beach as shown on the survey in Schedule B is diminished by 20% or more. The quality of said sand replenishment shall be an amount determined as being sufficient by the trustees to maintain the width of the beach as shown on the survey in Schedule D, and the quality, shape, and size consistent with conditions present at the premises as shown on the survey. This the property owner expressly agrees that permission to maintain improvements in the trustees' right-of-way is any basis of any claim of adverse possession to Shinnecock Beach Road, and the property owner expressly agrees to take no action to prohibit or discourage the rights of the residents of the town of Southampton to pass and repass through the road or use the beach area in the ways it has been customarily and historically used by the residents of the town. And the additional boilerplate, 20 days upon notice, and filed with the Office of the County Clerk. And so it's, the trustees have done due diligence to make sure that Mr. Malcolmson doesn't have any rights to claim the beach, that there has to be a yearly sand replenishment. There's a schedule for that. There's surveys included. So, we're on top of it.
And the sand replenishment you're referring to is over the rocks in that one section where it's like a plateau?
Yeah, at the end of the road, right.
At the end of the road.
And they might not
like
even
10, 15 feet out.
And if we get the right, if the county gets the right to put sand there as a spoil site, the issue will probably be moot because it'll never be exposed at any time because the beach will be further out to where it was. So, I mean, if we got the ability to put thousands of yards, move them legally, so the county doesn't get in trouble acting without a permit, probably the issue will be moot. But it all hinges on the DEC. I'm sorry, sounds like it's passing the buck, but that's where it lies right now with them. The ball is entirely in their court. And I haven't seen anybody with a different plan of how to address the erosion. Nobody's come up to us on all these public hearings with any plan.
Well, I don't know if that's totally true. The town environmental department had a plan using CPF funds. That was made a lot of sense and would have completely brought the beach back. So, but this is where we are right now. I get it.
However, the environmental division has just issued a permit for cowfish on a mile down the beach from you using gigantic boulders to shore up their shoreline. So a little consistency would be helpful also on their part.
Again, I have no idea what that is.
Well,
So
they issued boulders. They issued boulders the size of the ones that Mr. Malcolmson has in front of his house, and not only that, to go into trustee jurisdiction and chew up the whole beach in order to place these, destroying wetland vegetation right on the Shinnecock Canal. And this was just approved. So they have to be consistent also. The talk is cheap. Anyway.
Okay.
So
and
Eric,
you'll document how people can go to the east side of the beach through Malcolmson's property, as you were describing?
We'll have to come up with some sort of plan until the beach gets restored.
Designated passing way.
Yep.
Could I make a suggestion? By the way, Mr. Schultz, thank you for reading the covenants because I was not aware of those or read them. I really appreciate all of you guys going down. Obviously, this is a heated discussion for a lot of people. One question is, you mentioned Robert Young as the expert that went down with a lot of the trustees
Yes.
in November to sort of see it. Did you guys get a written recommendation from him that we could read just to understand? Because I had notes that I thought at some point that he was against it. And I guess I'm just confused just about the permitting specifically from the trustees for the revetment to happen, if that was in writing on his recommendation, or was that just you guys down there together?
No,
and he
it
said
was
this is really the only.
a general field inspection of several issues that we had. And what was before him right at that point was either gabions or large rocks to armor the erosion that was taking place on Mr. Malcolmson's property. And he suggested some sort of wave break that's similar. There's I don't know, Ed, how far out would that go? About maybe 40 feet or so? Is that
Yes.
Spartina alterniflora that's there?
Yes, it's about 40 feet off the road, 50 feet off the road end.
He suggested that anywhere between there and the road ending, that we should cause some sort of wave break and fill it with sand until the beach was built up. So that would be kind of like a last resort type of thing. But in normal circumstances, if we did get the ability to put sand there and build that whole beach out to what it used to be and restore it, then it actually would never be exposed, most of this, if that was built out. So it was more of a field comments that were made.
Great. All right. Well, thanks a lot. And Ed, I appreciate you going back over and have at least someone looking at the job done, just to sort of look at that right of way, to sort of go over that new property that's now Malcolmson's and going over to where that beach does exist. So at least there's a right of way properly.
The project as it is right now is on the Shinnecock Beach Road, which is our property, your property. It's a trustee owned property. So there is a passing way there. And if I have to go down there, I'm down there once a week. I watch this whole place deteriorate. I watched it, be built up. I watched multiple projects. So, I am a hands-on guy, so I'm there, but I want to make sure
I'm not emotional about it. I just wanted to, you guys have been doing a lot so far. We just want to make sure at the end of the day, some of these things, DEC, a lot of things that didn't happen, right? It is done. Most of the job seems to be done. I just want to make sure that some of those covenants that were read, Eric, Mr. Schultz read, were actually, followed through. That's all.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Sure. Just for clarification, maybe a lot of people don't know what Shinnecock Beach Road is. Okay. Shinnecock Beach Road was a road that was given to us in the subdivision of the Shinnecock Hills. It's a 50-foot wide strip running from the high watermark landward. And that's what the reason for these covenants is, because these rocks are placed on a trustee road. Okay, so we technically would be able to move those rocks at any time if we wanted to adjust things. Okay. So, anybody else have this?
Am I still on? It's Andrew Tarica.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah, I don't think my video is on, but that's okay if you can hear me. Just in closing, if the buck stops at the DEC, as you suggest, and we are able to get the DEC, hang on one second, they're asking me to stop my video. I don't know why you guys want to see me, but okay. If we are able to get the DEC, Andrew Walker, and others to get on a call with you, specifically Eric, or maybe all of the trustees, would you agree to that if we could make that happen? Because
Sure.
It seems to me that if we hang up with you and we all call Eric, and Chuck mentioned a different name at the DEC, and if we can get them to say all Eric is saying is change 2 words in the permit and they're ready to go, is it that simple? Then we can have this conversation with the DEC and you guys on the same thing, so there's no finger pointing back and forth, and we can resolve this once and for all. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, it's great. It's great if you can get them to do that. And carry.
I don't know if I can. I'm just saying, if we could, would you take that call?
More than willing.
Okay. Thank you.
Just that 2 trustees could hop on that call if it's last minute. Otherwise, it would have to be noticed as a special meeting anytime there's a quorum of a voting board.
Right, but as Eric, as the president, just to have Eric attend,
I have no problem.
in an informal setting, that might be helpful.
Right, just so you're aware. Okay.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you all. I appreciate your time and listening to our concerns. I know you share the same concerns, so hopefully together we could rebuild the beach and fix the channel and deal with this revetment. And, you know, like you said, if the beach is restored, then the rock revetment doesn't cause anybody any harm if the beach is restored.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Hey, sometimes the public reaching out gets a better response sometimes, you know?
Hopefully.
Yep.
Sometimes,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, give me a call.
Thank you.
Eric.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Anyone else in the queue on any other issues?
Nope.
Okay, let's go into applications for permits, having discussed them at the work session. So Scott's up first with a, oh,
I'm ready. You ready?
Scott, you're gonna do your motion to amend and read the language into the record?
I am. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for
Okay,
everyone to be ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so I've got trustee resolution 2021-77. I had to table it at the last meeting because of wording issues, and I'd like to make a motion to amend this
Second.
permit, and I would like to, thank you.
Okay, so Ed seconded it?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would like to amend the wording to be stricken as it is currently listed. I would like to replace it with it's number 2021-77, John and Angela McNerney at 19 Tarpon Road, East Quogue. The wording should be install 4x6 fixed platform with 2 handrails, install a 3x16 aluminum ramp, 6x20 composite floating dock with 4 support piles, 2 foot of platform, 2 foot of floating dock. Remove 1.2 feet of capping, install 6-foot boardwalk landward of the bulkhead, naturally vegetated wetland, non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer reflected behind the boardwalk in the plans, and all timber shall be non-treated tropical and all hardware to be galvanized for the premises located at 19 Tarpon Road, East Quogue, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 0900-362-4-10. I would like that wording to be
And we
listed
need
in.
a second on the motion to adopt it as amended?
Second.
Ed seconded it, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried. Okay,
Okay. I have trustee resolution 2021-87. It is a modification and first renewal for Audrey Weinberg, permit GP 000197 at 27A Bay Road, Village of Quogue, tax map 0902-6-1-16.4. This we discussed, we're adding 16 feet to the end of the fixed dock. It's fully compliant with Blue Book regulations and advanced past work sessions today, and I would be requesting it be issued.
okay, you have a second?
Second.
Ed seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So carried.
I have trustee resolution 2021-88. Kevin and Jennifer Schmidt, 15 Marlin Road, East Quogue, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 0900-384-3-8. This is located in the Shinnecock Shores section. Project that we worked on, removing and replacing 75 linear feet of existing bulkhead with new vinyl in the same location as existing and raised 8 inches above the existing top cap. Remove the existing landward boardwalk and replace with new 4-foot wide paved boardwalk parallel to proposed bulkhead to install 10 cubic yards of clean sand fill from upland source landward of proposed boardwalk and plant 6-foot wide non-turf buffer with native non-fertilized dependent vegetation. All timber will be untreated green heart for the premises location 15 Marlin Road, East Quogue. I recommend its approval at this point in time.
Second.
Ed seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee resolution 2021-89, application of Janice Arcondo, 8 Roland Court, Hampton Bays, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-324-3-4, body of water. We discussed this at the work session. It's all compliant to the trustees' rules and regulations. A permit was originally issued. It expired, so nothing has changed. So I recommend that for its approval. I need a second.
Second.
Bill seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2021-90, application for Florence Goldsmith, 5 Windermere Close, Hampton Bays, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-322-4-1.3, body of water, Shinnecock Bay, Wells's Creek. We discussed this at work session. It's all compliant as far as the trustees' rules and regulations. I recommend its approval. I need a second on that.
Second.
Bill seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Trustee Resolution 2021-91. Application for 17 Windermere Close LLC, 17 Windermere Close, Hampton Bays, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-322-4-1.9, body of water, Wells's Creek. We went over this at work session. It's all compliant as far as our rules of regulations. I recommend its approval. I need a second.
Second.
Bill seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I like to amend Resolution 2021-92. There's a type error in the name. Application John and Patricia Haney. It should be John and Christine Haley.
Okay, so you made the motion to amend that. So have a second.
Second.
It's seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
As amended.
And then they're going to adopt as amend the application as Christina Healy.
Haley.
Bill, motion, same second?
Same
Yes.
motion. Second. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So 2021-92, application John and Christine Haley, 539 Noack Road, Southampton, New York, tax map 0900-59-3-25, body water, North Sea Harbor. I'd like to have a second on this one.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 21-21-93, application Dennis Keene, 14 Lands Lane, Southampton, New York, tax map 0900-155-2-6, body water, Cold Spring. I'd like to have a second on this one.
Second.
Ed seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And next.
Trustee Resolution 2021-94. This is an application for 10 new fish trap and fike locations by Aaron J. Rozzi in Mecox Bay and in Sag Harbor Cove. I'll just quickly go through these. This is for permit number FT 353 for a fike at Sam's Creek in Mecox Bay, northwest of the bridge at 478 Job's Lane. Permit number FT 354, also a fike, Mecox, end of Cove Avenue off Rose Hill Road. Permit FT 355, fike in Mecox Bay, at the mouth of Calf Creek, 113 Brennan's Moor. Number 4 is permit FT 356, Mecox Bay, on the north side of Cobb Isle Road, at the mouth of Mill Creek. Permit FT 357, Mecox Bay, 150 Mid-Ocean Drive off Ocean Road. Permit FT 358, fike in Mecox Bay on the north side of the Scott Cameron parking lot. Permit FT 359, fike in Mecox Bay at 411 Job's Lane, just east of the bridge. Permit FT 360 for a fike in Sag Harbor Cove and Paynes Creek, 100 Crescent Street off Whitney Road, and permit FT 361 for a fike also in Sag Harbor Cove, also in Paynes Creek at 3855 Noyac Road. Permit FT 362 for a fike in Sag Harbor Cove at the end of Whitney Road off of Noyac Road. The latitude and longitude are all included in these FIKE applications. They've been vetted by the Bay Constables, and I'd like to recommend their approval.
Second.
And Bill seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And thank you, Ann, for reading each position into. It's very important for the local people.
You're welcome. Trustee Resolution 2021-95, application of 14 Cove LLC, 14 Cove Road, Village of Sag Harbor, Suffolk County Tax Map 903-13-24, body of water, Upper Sag Harbor Cove. This is for a catwalk ramp and float that we discussed thoroughly at the last work session. I'd like to recommend its approval.
Second.
Bill seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I got trustee resolution 2021-96 under budget and finance. It is warrant number 7 of 2021. It is for $7,288. It's for Fabric Structure USA, which is for the Marine Maintenance Department, protection of their equipment. I recommend we pass the warrant.
Second.
Bill seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Check register for the record.
It's just for one thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I just didn't know what you wanted to do.
He did. He just for the fabric.
Okay.
All right. Trustee Resolution 2021-97, recall and amend the trustee resolution number 2021-260 to set the trustees meeting and work session dates. So I have a motion on that to recall and amend.
Second.
Motion. Ed seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the amendment is resolved that the trustee resolution number 2020-260 adopted on November 23rd of 2020 to set the trustees meeting and work session dates for 2021 is amended as followed. I'm going to, but basically we're going to eliminate the work sessions in the late afternoon to help the staff out, and we're going to go back to the old system of having the meeting, the work session in the morning and the regular meeting in the afternoon on the first and third Monday of the month. So can we have a, I'd like to make that motion. Do you have a second on that?
Second.
It's
I have a
seconded.
question
Yeah.
on the motion.
Yes.
Why was it that you changed back in 2015 to the present schedule?
It wasn't working the way, the resolutions that were approved at the work session in the morning were then had to be prepared for the same day. So it was a little chaotic.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is to the work session, things that are discussed in the work session on, say, the first Monday of the month will actually go on the regular meeting on the second meeting, like we're doing now. However, at 3 o'clock, starting the meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday, it encouraged staff overtime, and the whole staff isn't here. Some of them leave at 4 o'clock, and we might need some additional information from them, and they've left. So it's felt that it would be better to have them here at the whole time and not incur overtime and all the rest of the things that are involved. So things would work just as they are now to go for the resolutions to go to the next meeting.
So I did a little bit of research and I looked back and I saw that in 2013, you had 2 regular meetings a month with no work sessions. And then in 2014, it changed to 1 work session and 1 regular meeting a month. And then in 2015, it changed again. But what I noticed when I looked at the schedule for what you're proposing is that pretty much every month within the year, there were special meetings. sometimes as many as 3 special meetings, 2 or 3 special meetings per month. How do you propose to, when we only have 2 days per month, when we have meetings, how do you, and we're not on Zoom probably at some point in the near future, how do you propose to deal with special meetings?
You just have special meetings the same as you did in the past. There's nothing preventing us from having special meetings now. And we can't pass resolutions at the meetings of the work sessions. So nothing really would change. If you wanted to have a special meeting at any time, you could call one. And the reason why there was so many special meetings is that there were a lot of lawsuits going on at that time that we had to pass resolutions for. So some of them only lasted for a couple of minutes. The way it used to work when I first got on the board was that an applicant would come in, we'd discuss the application, and we'd write the resolution right there and pass it. If everything was okay, we'd talk about it and we'd pass it, and then the secretary either write it then and there, or the secretary would fill in the words afterwards on going on the minutes. However, as things get more litigious and we're getting more formalized. It was rather informal in those days. Now we have to formalize things with resolutions and add amendments and things like that. Amend and recall. This never happened years ago. It was all hashed out right at the meeting, and the decision was made. So that's why we had these. That's why we started with these separate work sessions to allow the secretaries to have some time to draw up the resolutions correctly, so they held up in court. And then when Lisa came on board, it as it progressed, got more formal. That's why we were constantly adapting. So the only reason why we went to 3 o'clock, I believe, was to afford, since the trustees is not technically a full-time job, allow some people to work during the day and then come in at 3 o'clock. However, now, these sessions sometimes go for 3-4 hours, and now we're incurring staff overtime, or what is it called, comp time?
Yes.
And it's racking up, and I thought it would be more fiscally prudent to the trustees' budget to have the full staff here at our disposal. We'd have to, if we had a question for Jessica on duck blinds and it came up and she left at 4 o'clock, now we have to put it over to the next meeting. So at this time, everybody's here. We have all our information here, and we can get the job done easier. That's why things changed.
I understand.
Do you have the times?
The times, 9:30 in the morning till 12, and then the regular meeting starts at 1. Take a lunch break for an hour and then go into a regular meeting.
We have the room for that entire time period. That's the room from 9 to, I think, 9 o'clock.
We had reserved the room earlier in the year, just in case. So we knew that probably the COVID restrictions would end at some point. So we put in the application to reserve the room for the entire year for the first and third Mondays of the month. And then we just went over with HR about, just elongating that time we had the room that day, those particular days.
And there was a period of time when we were having the special meetings, Irene and Sandy had happened, and we were having special meetings literally like once a week just to keep up with the workload. There were times that I had 15 and I remember 17, applications that we would approve at one meeting. So there was a tremendous amount of work that was being done because of those 2 storms. That's why, and lawsuits also, like Eric had initially mentioned. So that's why we had to change.
I recall Mecox taking also a bunch of special meetings, having to pass resolutions for management over at the Mecox cut as well.
Yep. For opening and closing. For opening.
Right. I recall that.
And also until we got the change in the blue book, when we wanted to do shellfish closures or adapt regulations on shellfish, we had to have public hearings, and special meetings, and I recall Bill, you were talking about scallop dredging in the different ponds. Some of the baymen were coming in, so we had to have special meetings on that on the fly. So now that that's been resolved, that we changed that, have the ability to change it without all the public hearings. That's calmed down the amounts of special meetings we have to have. But there's no problem with calling. We could call a special meeting every day of the week if we had to. We just have to notify the trustees and the media.
So another thing, oops, sorry, go ahead.
I just, it seems like, Charles, if you think there's some logistical issue here, you seem to be, very tentative about this.
Well, just in the room. Because May 3rd, you need to discuss the May 3rd thing.
Or you think that's premature based on policies set?
Well, with the supervisor.
He's talking about in the
supervisor's office.
If you still want to do it with Zoom, then you can go do it with.
Charles, would you like me to reach out to Deputy?
Just reach out to Frank.
I will.
Okay.
Right. So we could. Right. We could conform.
I know
to
what I'm doing.
Right.
Okay.
I'll
Frank, whether we're going to be having to do it by Zoom or in person.
Yeah. Okay. That's no problem. That's no problem.
Okay.
I think it's better for the consultants too. I mean, they're, during the day they can get if they need more.
Yeah, but
get it to us.
Logistically, that would be hard because you can only fit a certain amount of people in that room right now.
All right. So
because of COVID.
This is the meeting dates. It doesn't have anything to do with. We were talking about having it.
Yeah, I don't really care which way, but
right. So it could be those meeting dates and times, but still on Zoom for COVID protocols.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So that So you get multi-pronged issues going on here.
Exactly.
Still.
So we're just dealing with the times right now.
That's fine. Times are good for me.
I'm sorry, Ann, you had something.
Mm-hmm. So when I was looking back historically at the how this had worked, I noticed that when special meetings were called, that there wasn't always a full board attendance at those special meetings, just due to the nature of special meetings. And this is concerning to me because there's only the opportunity for there to be a full board discussion twice a month now on 2 separate days. And if special meetings are taking place often, as they may, coming into summer season, we have special meetings often for fireworks, for beach events, as you guys have noted, for cut openings, for executive sessions. Many things come up at the last minute. And I'm very concerned about the lack of transparency that may come forward, and also the possibility for decreased attendance on the part of the public. If we only have 2 days, not 4, when they have the opportunity to speak, I'm concerned about the level of knowledge.
Right, but they don't have the opportunity to speak at the work sessions anyway.
They frequently they do, though. If they're there, you frequently let them speak.
Not on application.
So no, not.
We're not just. We're trying to make the office more efficient and our time more efficient, and the staff to get the work done properly. That's all. It's not to decrease the public's awareness of things. Is to move things along in a more efficient manner, which had been done many times for many years.
And Eric, may I say something?
Yeah.
And for Ann's concern, she did all the research and has a track record that how many times we switch the meetings to it. If this doesn't work out, we can switch it again. It's not set in stone where we have to do this for the next 300 years. So I think we should try it and bring it to a vote. And if it doesn't work out, then we'll change it again.
Yeah, well, it's evolved. Obviously, it's evolved in a number of years. It's changed quite a bit with the times. And
if we have to, if we have to have a third meeting, we can have it at night.
Well, you can have a meeting anytime you want. You can have 5 meetings a week if you want. If you want to have special meetings, stuff like that, and allow the public to speak, you can advertise, you can say, we're going to have a special meeting in 2 weeks at this night to discuss this particular issue. There's nothing stopping that.
Yeah, that's what,
Have a public,
I agree with.
if the board agrees to it, say like in 2 weeks, you can have a public hearing on anything you want.
Yes, that's good.
Charles, can we have a regular scheduled meeting like in town hall and incorporate a Zoom meeting with it? So anybody that can't make it to town hall can also speak, whether it's an elected official or somebody for the public?
I don't want to say no, we can't. That's something that we need to experiment with.
Okay, I'm just asking to.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
The technology is here and we could pretty much do it, but it just depends on manpower and, we're going to have to try it to make sure it works.
Okay,
well,
thank you,
would
Charles.
like to see is that we've got some good feedback. The one good thing that came out of Zoom was the fact that when James was bringing up the permits, it shows the public actually what we're deliberating on and the knowledge that the trustees have of the area and reporting back to the field conditions. That the people have said that they have a feel for actually what we do and kind of going along with us in the decision-making process. So that when we do go into the town board meeting room, if we can continue that to, instead of televising just us sitting at the table, looking at the plans, that it can come up on the screen on the TV also. You can do that, right, Jane, Charles?
We were doing that before Zoom started, right, James? I
James
think
was sharing his screen.
it showed on the screen.
Yeah, James was sharing his screen, right?
Yeah.
Whether it was showing.
They were showing the board members most of the time, though. There was difficulty with showing what was on the screen, and what was like what you guys were seeing. So I'm sure it's something that we can work on.
Again, we can do it, but it's subject to. We got to try it.
Okay.
And maybe that's something that we need to work on.
What's the town board doing, Charles? Do you have any indication there?
They're not coming back until the end of May.
Okay.
So we may end up in that same.
For the month of May.
Yeah.
Why don't we stay on Zoom for the month of May?
Yeah, until
it's really not about the board as much as it is the people that come to see the board.
Right. COVID protocols.
Yes.
Reference to where it is.
Even the people that are coming to speak, even the other boards are having problems because the ZBA, they have lawyers coming to cases, and it's a lot of people in one room.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll follow the governor's guidelines then. That's all for the board. So what we're going to do is then on this particular thing, it says this resolution, it says the work session is going to be in the boardrooms on all of these. So we'll just eliminate where it's going to be because the first resolution where we set the trustees meetings didn't refer to where it was going to be. So we're going to just strike where it is going, where the meeting is going to be held, and it'll be announced on the website where it is, because we're going to have to still be a little flexible with this as far as how it's going to occur. Okay.
Well, it's just also the meeting, like on the 17th, is going to be split between 2 different locations.
Yeah.
When we come off of Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, okay, I like to make a motion that we take out the language that says where the meeting is going to be held out of this resolution. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so a motion to adopt and recall and amend the trustee resolution number 2021-260, set the trustees meeting and work session dates for 2021 until further notice. I'll make the motion and we have a roll call vote. Who seconded it?
Second.
Bill, seconded. So Secretary Treasurer Horowitz, please call a roll.
President Schultz,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Horowitz, aye. Trustee Ed J. Warner Jr.,
Yes.
Trustee William Pell IV,
Yes.
Trustee Ann Welker.
I'm looking at this as a test drive, as a pilot project, and we'll revisit it along the way. And I'm also looking at the end of the year when we typically set the meeting schedule for the following year, at which time this can be revisited. I am concerned about the cancer of convenience. So I vote no.
Okay.
You're voting no, Ann?
Yeah.
The motion passed 4-1.
Yes. Okay. So Bill Powell's got the next resolution regarding the shellfish. Previously addressed at the public hearing this morning, this afternoon.
This trustee resolution 2021-98, notice to amend establish temporary modifiers of seasonal raising clams and commercial shellfish harvesting restriction to prevent harm to the shellfish population. What we're doing is putting a limit on hard clams at 2,000 per person and per boat. And we're changing the date of opening the raising clams to west of the bridge would be December.
Let's see.
31st.
December 1.
December 31st. Temporary restriction
31st.
till December 30th.
Yes.
Yep.
Maybe you want to mention that this was at the request of the Baymen's Association?
Yes, this is a request of the Bayman Association, and a lot of Baymen wanted this. Called up and requested this.
It's December 1st you have here,
Yeah,
not
December
31st.
Yeah, December 1st. Yeah, that's why I thought it was December 1st. I was just trying to find it.
Open on December 1st, 2021.
Yeah, 21st.
Sorry.
And you're acting under special authority, once again, section 16A340 of the Blue Book. This is the same thing that was done temporarily. Same thing that nobody just wished to speak for a public hearing. You're acting under that same authority again, special authority to modify a season.
And Billy and the rest of the trustees, it should be December 2nd because it's open on even days, correct?
Yes.
So it would be the December 2nd that it should be open. That should be amended to change to reflect
Let's
that.
recall that and amend this. I'd like to recall this, amend this motion of 2021-97. Need a second?
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Okay, and he's changing it to December
It's December 2nd.
2nd.
Okay, so the last resolve clause, Bill, you're changing to December 7.
Second.
Second.
Two.
December 2, not December 31st.
No.
Okay, December 2nd. Okay, I will make the change. So did
No,
you
wait,
do
wait,
a
wait,
motion
wait,
to
no.
amend?
No, he's talking about the seasonal razor clam and East of the Pond Club Bridge shall reopen on this. He has it December 1st. Wants
Okay,
it. This is December 2nd, right here. See this? Right here.
Oh,
From
okay.
the 1st to the 2nd.
Okay, we still have to do a motion to amend.
We just did that.
Okay,
We did.
now, so,
I seconded.
okay, so who's?
All in favor? We're all
Okay,
in favor.
okay, and then we need a
Okay.
motion to
And now
adopt.
we're in motion to adopt. Bill, you're gonna motion to adopt.
Make a motion to adopt it.
And I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm recusing myself.
Okay,
Okay, and one of recuses, the motion passes.
okay. Very good. Okay, that's the end of the resolutions we have. Anybody else have anything? I think Ed wanted to speak on the bunker situation.
Yes, it's been on the water quite a bit the last couple of weeks, and some of the other baymen have contacted me, noting that there's quite a few dead bunkers. It's not like a massive fish kill, but it's more of a broader fish that are dying. I did contact Cornell. Greg Rivara and I spoke this morning. He said the state is aware of it, and I believe it's a Vibrio issue. They're doing some more research on the fish. As I get more information, I will give it to the board and to the rest of the public. But as of right now, there is a small scale bunker kill happening throughout the whole east end of Long Island, on the Peconics and Shinnecock and Murches in Great South Bay.
Thanks, Ed. It's not due to overcrowding and oxygen. Just want to let people know.
Nope. It's completely different than the past ones that we've had.
It's not like the ones that we have in the fall.
Nope.
Okay.
So people understand that.
So following up on that, Ed, you had reached out the other day because you were concerned about an algae bloom in Mecox. So we took a water sample to Dr. Gobler, and he examined that sample and stated that they were harmless diatoms that were present. And diatoms are they're algae, and they're actually helpful algae because they fix carbon and they do a lot of photosynthesis. So he wasn't concerned about them at all. Also, using our buoy that was just put back in to Mecox, I contacted Tom Wilson, and he looked at, because that's not hooked up yet, it will be soon, but it's not yet. He looked at the chlorophyll number, the turbidity number, the indicator for harmful algal blooms. And although the turbidity was increased, the chlorophyll and the harmful algal blooms numbers were very low. So there was no indicator of anything harmful at all, but there was the presence of the diatoms.
Okay, thank you, Ann.
Right.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Gobler and Tom Wilson, because they both got right back to us on that.
That's great.
Okay.
I have one more thing. This is for Sean. Sean, how are you making out with the Blue Book adopted with the town board?
We're on track we're going to have the town board adopt the entirety of the Blue Book, codified as A340 June 1st, or their first meeting thereafter actually is June 8th. My apologies, but we're shooting for June 8th for the town board to adopt. So any amendments that the board would like to make prior to that, I would recommend that we start working on those now, and then have the town board adopting the Blue Book biannually. So once in June or once in January.
Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
Good.
Sean, you were suggesting that we put a demolition permit.
So yeah, I had been questioned on how you could do something like that. You could certainly create a code section for a demolition permit. I'd also recommend at this juncture, most other boards charge for adjournments of public hearings because sometimes there are publishing costs and staff costs associated with adjourning public hearings. I believe Scott and I had discussed potentially amending the Blue Book to reflect that type of a policy for the board. I'm not sure if it would be supported or not, but we can have a draft and put that on for your next work session if you'd like.
I think it's worthy of discussion because, we do put a lot of time into it. And we had a situation pop up where we had to delay a public hearing, right?
Right.
I think, it's important.
Right.
And that would ensure that your board is not bearing the cost of people's publishing notices.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
I think based on Sean's recommendation, we should we should do that. And I also think that if, if Sean feels we need to clarify this demolition thing, I think that should be done too, because we see how problematic that can become.
Okay,
Great.
sounds good.
We will be at the next meeting, setting up a notice for the public hearing for the extension of the pier line in Sag Harbor Cove. So that'll be moving forward. We are also moving forward with the water quality grant application for Mill Pond for carp management, floating wetlands, and water quality monitoring. Been working on that. Both Mecox Cut and Sag Cut are closed. Both bay levels are high or critically high. The salinity in Mecox is about, hold on one second, is in the range of 11. The salinity in Sag, I can't tell yet. Dr. Gobler's buoy is in, but I've got to check the recording on that. But both cuts are closed and both bay levels are high.
Any communication with the DEC as far as emergency permits?
So, as you know, due to the piping plover season having started March 31st or April 1st, that's going to be a difficult ask, but that's what we will do. We'll move forward with the request for emergency openings for both Mecox and Sag. The question will be, when we apply for the Mecox opening, where is that channel going to be cut?
I would say the place has always been cut right down through the middle.
So that will entail a 1,400-foot channel, not the 390-foot channel that is typically permitted.
Right.
So we will
Without-
request that.
Out that channel in the back through the flats, you're not gonna get a good flow.
I understand.
As evidenced the last time we did it.
It's a
Army
big
Corps-
problem.
Army Corps and Fish and Wildlife, they do realize that flat being flooded actually decreases plover habitat, right?
Yeah, I have, well, we have,
Yes.
actually, there's been overwashing at Mecox and at Sag. So we'll get more drone footage, because that drone footage is really helpful with showing how high the bay is and how the potential plover habitat is compromised by the bay height and the height of the water or the depth of the water all over the flats, because it certainly shrinks the beach that is possible for the plovers to nest on. And there have been plovers, I think, sighted in both locations. Correct me if I'm wrong, James.
You mean this year or in general?
This year? Either.
Yeah, I mean, there's plovers in the area, but there's no nests or anything yet.
Right. Yeah, just sightings.
Yeah.
Just sightings.
It's a big problem. That bay is very high. Mecox very high.
Yep.
As
definitely.
is Sag.
So when, people want to know, when do you think the trustees are going to apply for the permit, the emergency permit? Or are we just going to do research on it and think about it?
James, how long would it take to draw something up? What's your involvement on that? A simple phone call or just a letter?
I can write up the plover report, and that's, I mean.
No, I mean, the emergency permit, how has that been handled up until this point?
In the past, it's been handled by the town attorney.
John, what are your thoughts? Because this is very high. We got more rain coming midweek and I think the end of the week.
We
Yes,
can
we
certainly
do.
make an application if the board supports it. Typically, anytime the board's asked for any emergency authorization, we've drafted it and had it submitted rather quickly. This is the first I'm hearing of it, so.
I think we got to get on it.
Have to, yeah. You have to go for the whole thing. And not only just the DEC, but Fish and Wildlife and Army Corps is involved too. I mean, anything we can do to help to make some calls to push things along, we'll do it once the application is in. Because it's getting critical. But probably if nothing's done within the next couple of weeks, I believe that the health commissioner is going to have to get involved.
Keep in mind, for an emergency authorization, we need to submit a threat to life, property, or general welfare. So we need photographs and documentation of an emergency situation now. To submit to obtain that authorization. So it seems somewhat counterintuitive that you have to prove harm to get a permit. But that is the way it's structured under emergency authorization.
I understand that, but it's just
Well,
a tremendous burden to the public who was, asked to keep on writing all these letters all the time ad nauseum. It's, I mean, they come about the D's, but they don't know what's going on in their own area,
Whichever trustee's area it is can go out with a camera and document these things and sign out an affidavit. That's an alternative. You can have marine maintenance staff do the same. But we need
Got environmental analyst.
What's that?
We have our environmental analyst as well.
Of course, yeah.
The drone footage has proven helpful in the past as well. So we can request that to put it together as a package in order to submit it all at once.
Okay.
Can't we use the past information? Because it's basically all the same.
No, it needs to be a present emergency circumstance. Something that has been favorable in the past is when we show that roads and right-of-ways are blocked by flooding. So I'd encourage any information like that to be forwarded. Septic systems overflowing, flooding basements, things of that effect.
Anyone that's asking you when the trustees are going to open, this is the type of information that we need from the public that we don't always have access to.
They can use SOS and make a full report on the SOS too. That creates a record, doesn't it, Sean?
It does. It does get forwarded to your office though, so that will end up with James anyways. So, either.
But I mean, it's a simple way for them to, articulate their hardships and, their conditions that becomes part of the record.
Yep.
Emails are possible.
Pictures and emails are the easiest.
Because they can be easily forwarded to all of the involved agencies.
Okay.
And what did you say the salinity was in there?
11 average.
Can you contact Dr. Gobler and ask him for a letter in reference to low salinity and possibility of harm to the shellfish?
Can you get Will Caldwell to email something to you about the condition of the shellfish in there?
Yes, I will contact him after this meeting.
We should also contact the chairperson of the Watermill CAC, since this does have a tremendous effect on the entire community. I think that they should be noticed and perhaps get involved in the process.
Definitely.
All of these people have submitted, all three of these people and countless others have, especially the owners of the farm on the bay, have submitted countless emails, countless times, both for emergency authorizations as well as for the 10-year permit, which on January 5th, all material was submitted, or was it the 8th? Beginning of January, all material was submitted. So each person that you're noting here has written previously.
Is that satisfactory, Sean, for this? It's not.
No,
So if
it has
there's
to
one
be
thing, it's one thing that the DEC's been consistent with is requiring this to be done time and time again till the point that they're satisfied to issue us that emergency authorization.
So it's
Correct?
new,
Present impact.
right,
What's that?
new photos, as Sean said, present impact, new photos, new emails each time.
Well, shouldn't it be, wouldn't it be sufficient to say that the last emergency authorization, due to the fact that the deep channel wasn't dug, that there's no change in the conditions as far as it's still an emergency, that all the letters should serve to still be valid? Because if the bay hasn't changed at all, we still have the same situation.
No, let's clarify it. The bay has gotten higher.
Higher.
And the salinity has dropped precipitously.
It was a failure.
Please refer to all the previously submitted emails that is burdening the general public, and the situation has gotten worse. So, I mean, it's rather unfair to keep on asking the public to keep on writing all these letters all the time.
It's the only way it gets done.
I know, but they should just refer to previous letters. It's gotten worse.
In the past, they've rejected that as an argument.
Right, and I think that when people,
maybe they should come down on the site and check it out.
but they've done that too. They've already done that. And it goes on. But you know what? It's the one thing that they've been consistent at, and that's requiring us to continue to provide this documentation over and over again to get that emergency authorization, which further underscores the fact that our management plan, although many public hearings went into it, still no activities can occur at Mecox without, the emergency authorization of the DEC with anything we do there. Correct?
Correct.
Is there anything else that needs to be reported or discussed about Mecox?
No, I think the urgency in the situation and the fact that we better get on to remedy for the benefit of the community.
Well, one thing that's got to be recognized, the bay isn't going to get any lower and the salinity is not going to get any higher as you move forward. I mean, an action now could prevent a major catastrophe down there.
We got to get on it, and you can't, I fully understand that it's pipe and plover, it's bird season, but you can't destroy the ecosystem and a living ecosystem for the sake of another species. And you do have to remember, with the declining salinity and declining water conditions, it's also putting all the shellfish that we hold in trust for the people of this community, whether it's recreational, commercial, in harm's way.
Right.
Aside from all the health and safety issues that are created for everybody else that lives there. So we're going to have to get on this.
So
and this goes right back to Mill Pond too.
Which is why I suggest that we, again, and I know they've been very helpful with this in the past, ask the CAC to now, at this point in time, critical for them to get behind the trustees and alert this situation to that community.
Everyday cap.
And to possibly CC the commissioner instead of having a local, because I don't think that they know what's going on. By the way, Carrie Meeks Gallagher is now the deputy commissioner. So there's basically nobody in charge of Stony Brook right now. You have some person from sanitation is acting chairman or something like that. So it's a government agency run amok. So maybe any letters that go to them should be sent all the way up to the governor's office, because something has to be done. I mean, governor, his wish to restore all the bays in the town and building pipelines, like I said, $23 million pipelines, yet everything else is caving in around years.
I thought it was 100 million.
Oh.
Like $1 million a year in maintenance costs, you know?
It changes, you know.
So just to come back to East, also any phone calls or emails to, as you said, Eric, anyone higher up in DEC, but also any other elected officials that might have sway with DEC. That's
Sound
very
like-
helpful.
Yeah, I'll make some phone calls on that, but I really think we need to get on Sean's standard protocol of gathering up the data that's necessary to get the emergency authorization. You know, we'll get to the other piece of it further up the chain, but we still gotta have to satisfy the folks that, you know,
Right.
we've been dealing with.
Yes.
Well,
At this point, it's pretty much plug and play. There's a form letter that's been provided to the office. It's the same materials essentially every time. So as soon as we get that information, we can forward that right off to DEC.
Okay.
Right, so I would do that and then make sure that's there, and then we can start hammering the other end of it to say, hey, look, we made our recommendation. You've got all your documentation as consistent as prior openings, and here's where we're at. We need some help.
Yes.
So since we don't have another meeting for 2 weeks, how do we deal with resolutions for opening? James, where do we stand with that? Because we don't have, do we have anything written that extends into bird season?
I'm not
I don't-
sure without looking for
Yeah.
it.
I
Well,
think we need
you get the emergency authorization, then you just call me up or any of the other trustees. We'll have a special meeting via Zoom and get it done.
Why don't you can you just do a walk on now and?
Yes,
Yeah, we can do that too.
yes.
Don, you
For the
good with
month-
that?
For the mo-
You
For
know,
1
you
month.
can't authorize an opening without your emergency authorization in hand. So notice a special meeting. It only requires 48 hours notice.
Yeah, we'll do that because there might be different parameters that are going to change. So, yeah, you know, with this Zoom, we can do it at drop of a hat. No big deal.
All right.
Notify everybody in just 5 minutes. Have a special meeting.
I'm fine with that. Good idea.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay. Great.
Is there anything else that you wish to bring up about MECOX?
You got something else?
Not at this point. I have to have another conversation with our special counsel. Should be today or tomorrow. And then I'll make recommendations to everybody. And then they can take a look at it.
Just want to also point out, thank you, that the Scott Cameron 4x4 access remains closed to anyone that's driving on the beach because of the erosion on that east channel.
Thanks, Ann. I'll let the ladies at the counter know in case we get any calls.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, I make a motion to close the regular scheduled meeting of the town trustees.